This is Conversations with Edward Asari, and today have you encountered failures in life? How were you able to overcome it?
I don't see failure as failure. I see failure as an opportunity for you to go back to the drawing board. I love my country. I love my home country. I love my kinky, my bamboo, my
Let's go.
my jollof,
Okay.
and everything that comes with it, right?
If you could talk to the gentleman, the little boy who grew up in Zongo Lane somewhere in Accra, in crowded houses over there, what would you tell him?
He should find what he cares about and stay focused. My message to anybody that is looking for their purpose is don't look for a purpose, your purpose will find.
You are welcome, Councilor Pious Ali.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, how did you start from Ghana? And how did you end up in the US? Let's start from the very basic.
Okay. Where I was born is quite, shall I say, interesting. I have family in Nima and I have family in Sawam. My family in Nima will always say that you were born here, and my family in Sawam will say that no, you were born here in Sawam. They will actually show you the house that you were born.
So they're all fighting about where you were born.
Where I was born. I joke about it when I talk to two of my cousins who are from both areas. But what I do know is that what I can remember in my childhood, I grew up at Sawam. And until when I was ready to go to secondary school, when my grandmother had then moved to Zongo Lane, and I followed her. So I had most of my formative years as a young person staying at Zongo Lane and attended West Africa Secondary School.
Before you went to West Africa Secondary School, where did you go to basic school?
I attended, there's a school at Nsawam called Sechikrom United School, which was interesting. It's a school that belonged to the Methodist Church and the Presbyterian Church, and they call it United Primary School. So that is where I went to school, and then did the Sechikrom Middle School. And all this, even though they were started by the church, it was a public school system. Came to Accra, went to West Africa Secondary School, created my formative years. Then, since I was in secondary school, I knew that I want to tell stories. I have an imaginary mind, but I find it difficult to transform or translate that into drawing. It's a terrible drawer.
Right. And let me catch you right there. You mentioned that when you were in high school, you knew that you want to go into creating content, as we call it today.
Right.
For most young people, getting to understand or know what you want to do is really a struggle these days. Is it a straitjacket when it comes to finding out what you are meant to do in this life?
Not really. That is why getting mentorship, finding someone that you admire, someone that does something that you wish you are, someone that does something that you know that I can do this, I just don't know how. And then you reach out to them and say, I want you to mentor me. So for those young people who do not know what they want to do, you can do stock taking of what skills you have, what gifts you have. I can say that I believe that just like the way nobody can copy your fingerprint. We are all unique. There is you, uniquely you. Nobody can be you, and you can never be somebody. But you can admire someone and want to be like them, or even want to be better than them. And there's nothing wrong reaching out to people and saying to them that I want you to mentor me. And I know it's levels by levels. You're not going to go to the president and say to the president that, I live in some remote part of the country and I want you to mentor me. That is practically impossible.
Right.
Look within your bubble and see, is there someone that is doing something that you want to be or you admire to be? And then reach out to them and ask them for mentorship. Right. And I think that will be easy. People do that. Actually, people who are in certain positions want to mentor people.
Right.
They want people out there, because none of us want to leave this world with all the gifts that we've been given.
Yes.
We always want to part with it. We always want to pass it on to the next generation, because nobody's going to live forever. At a point, you have to bow off that stage and then usher in someone that you have mentored for the person to continue from wherever it is that you left.
Now, let me bring you back to West Africa Senior High School. From there, then...
Yeah, so when I was in West Africa, as I said, I knew I wanted to tell stories. How or what type of stories, I don't know, until I was given a gift of a camera by someone. I forgot where he was from. It's a family friend. And he said that I have a camera for you. I mean, he did not know that I wanted to. It's just coincidence. And then I started taking photos. I started taking photos of the street of Accra. You know, if you look online, you will see this thing called, how do we call it? People of New York, right? So I was doing something similar. And I created me and my small group of friends at then West African. Now you call it senior high school. We used to call it straight up secondary school. So it's going to take a while for me to stay with the senior high school jargon. Created like a photo club where we all take pictures and look at our pictures. And one day I went to a photo studio. I will also take photos of my friends at school, and then of course charge them for it. So whilst I was at school, I knew that this is what I'm going to do. I brought one of my photos to a photo studio to print it, and someone said, "Did you took that?" I said, "Yes." And the person said, "Have you thought about covering when there's weddings and this thing? You take good pictures." And I said, "No, I just love taking photographies." So that was an opening for me. I started doing that. There was a gentleman that when I was growing up, he was known in the community he is the photographer of the community. So I tagged along him. He became like my boss. So I was taking pictures with him. But I was also a socialist. I love to participate in everything around me. So even before I left school, I was going to places that people from Zongolen, people from Nima, or people from my background would not necessarily venture to go to.
Let me come in there. So for some reason, there's a certain future that is calling on you, but somehow you have been able to find people who hold your hand or are even willing to help. It's like the universe is planning and plotting to bring to you everything that is supposed to make you who you are today.
Right. So I started taking photos, right? And one day, again, there was a photo printing place around this place where Joy FM is right now. I've forgotten the name of the company. I went to print my photos because in the olden days, when you take the photos on 35mm film, you will have to bring it to, if you don't do your own printing, if your people that do their own printing have the large format, right? But people that don't do that, they will have to take it to a photo lab for it to develop into negatives. And then you kind of like look at the negatives and see which one is sharp, which one you want to print. And then there's a form.
And you fill it.
You fill it. You want 1 copy of this, 3 copies of this. I went to print my pictures and I picked my pictures and I was walking to circle. And then a house collapsed. There was some building that I think the builder did not do a good job. And it's a story building, and it collapsed.
Right in front of
I
you.
happened to be there when it was collapsing. So I look around and I stood on the house opposite. I asked the folks if they would allow me to take a photo of this house, and they said yes. So I went on the first floor of the house that is directly opposite the one that collapsed, right? And took pictures. And I took pictures from the eye level, and I went above and took not below eye level, like a higher level shot. And then I went and printed it. I did it, I don't know, out of instinct. And then a few days later, like 2 days later, I had a phone call from, how do we call it? Somebody that have started a newspaper called PNP.
Oh, everybody knows PNP. I mean, back in the day.
Yeah, they were like, there was something that happened and you were the only one that have taken that photograph. Do you do you still have those pictures? Or have you given it to someone? I said, I haven't given it to anyone. And they said, well, can we have it? And I said, yeah. So they showed me where their office was. I think at that point, they have just published the first copy or the second copy of the newspaper. So I went and gave them, and they said, do you have any interesting photos that we can print? I looked at my thing and I found some photos and gave it to them. That was my opening into the media community in Ghana. And one thing led to the other. I published my work in the Mirror, Graphic Showbiz, Times, and made out numerous news outlets.
So let me come in here. So all this while you were still in high school?
No, I left high school already.
You had left?
Right.
Did you proceed to the university?
No. And the reason was, as I said to you, when I was in high school, I knew that I want to tell stories. How, I don't know, but I knew that there's this thing about telling stories. I actually did theater. I joined a theater group at the Art Center. There's a gentleman by name Inkrabia Efadate. He became a politician. He was an ex-military officer. He's a lawyer. I was on the same stage with people like, and I'm not throwing names here, I'm just going to give you proximity of what I did. Kasum Sinari, the late Wache, Jojo, Miss Robertson, right, at the Art Center in Accra. So I did that as part of this thing in me that want to tell stories. I believe I was then the youngest person in that group called Theatre Mirrors. We perform across the country. We've been to all the universities in Ghana to perform to the students. Yeah.
So let me come in here again. So because you were so sure and you were aware of what you wanted to do, you didn't bother yourself to continue to university.
No.
You just focus on the skill acquisition.
I believe that I can do this. This is what I want to do. And then somehow nature gave me the outlet to bring out that story nature, the need to tell stories that is in me.
In you.
And then I found an opportunity and I grabbed it.
Would you advise any young person today who probably might have a similar story like yours, probably have been able to identify the things that they want to do, to, let's say, drop out of university if maybe they don't really need a degree to do it?
I wouldn't say drop out of the university, because going to university have its purpose, it has its advantage. In addition to the skills that you will learn, you will also build a network of people who will someday be in positions that you will need to get in touch with them.
So it's not really about the paper or the degree itself.
Oh yeah, in addition to the degree that you are going to have, we live in a different world than the 80s and 90s that I did what I did, right? The world is completely different. There are people that will decide not to go to college and they will do amazingly well in their world because they have this creative ability. But there are also people who do not need to go to do that, and who need that because they need certain structures in their lives, and that is the only place that they're going to get that structure. So you have to know yourself in order. Don't just jump and stop going to school because I didn't, or because someone else that you know who is doing well in their lives have not or did not.
You know, there's a lot of arguments out there. People are of the view that you don't really need school to become successful in life. Some would say that it doesn't matter the number of if you have degrees more than a thermometer, doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. And then they will pick up names of people who didn't go to the university and then they are doing pretty well in life. And because of that, they would say, okay, you don't have to go to the university. And there are a lot of folks on the street today who do not want to take advantage of all of these policies that is trying to empower young people, like free education, subsidies that are available to them, scholarships. So if you could give a message to anybody out there in terms of that, even though you have been able to have a clear picture of what you want to do and just went for it without going to the university, what message would you have for that person?
Well, as I said earlier, yes, university education is not for everyone, but it is very important for you to know yourself first and know that this is what I want to do. There are people that need structure. So they need to go to the university, and there are people that don't. And if you look at, how do we call it? If you look at individuals that have made it successfully without going to the uni, I mean, it's a very small amount of people, right? It could be 1 out of a million, right? I mean, success is also subjective. What you may see as success may not be what I see as success. Or what I will see as success that I will be celebrating, somebody can look and say, what is he doing? What is he celebrating here? There's nothing to celebrate here. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know yourself, and you have to know what you want in life. And then you ask yourself, do I need to go to university? And don't look at now. Don't look at, if I don't go to school now, I know how to sell shoes. If I don't go to school now, I'm a good salesperson. You need to have a long plan that I'm not going to start selling shoes. I will move from somebody who sells shoes and manufacture shoes. And how do I do that without going to school? And if you think you have a solid plan, then go for it. That is you. But there are people that want to go to, that need to go to college, that need to go to the university to learn how to balance their books, so that when they created that shoe factory, right, they know how to administer every aspect of their business. They don't have to, they will hire people, but they are the owners. They know how to look into their book. They know how to run businesses because they went to the university and learned that.
Right.
I don't see failure as failure. I see failure as an opportunity for you to go back to the door. If my work helps a unhoused person, if my work helps an immigrant, even if it is just one, then my work is done.
So we are still on the conversation with Edward Asari, and it has been Councilor Pious Ali with me here today, and we've been having discussions about how he started right here in Ghana, all the way to high school, and we're currently at the stage where he discovered his passion for sharing or creating stories, and then somehow he had people just showing up in his life, giving him resources to help him with that. You mentioned success. What does it mean to you?
Well, I think where I am in my life right now, I am in politics, and I say to people that if the work, if the policy, if the votes that I take anytime I sit in the council chambers, if my work changes one life, if my work helps someone, a business owner who is in the city of Portland where I live, if my work helps a house owner, if my work helps a unhoused person, if my work helps an immigrant, even if it is just one, then my work is done. Then I have done enough.
Then you see yourself as successful.
Yeah. I'm just using that one number as a figure of speech. But of course, yeah.
You want to touch as many lives as you
can.
You
want to touch as many lives as you can. But also for me, another way of measuring success should not be by me. I will let other people make that decision and look and say that he did good. I see success similar to when people are talking about legacy. Somebody once asked me, what do you want your legacy to be? And I say, it's not up to me to decide what my legacy will be. It's up to me to do so many things and leave a huge body of work. And then someone else will decide what they think, which is the work that I've done is my legacy.
Now, you decided to leave Ghana. Or how did it happen? Before you realized you were doing your work, you were working with one of the very popular newspapers at the time, PNP,
Yeah.
And then you decided that I want to leave to the US. When
Well,
did you do that?
Yeah, I think those of us who were growing in the 90s, getting into the 2000s, will always remember that hardly a day, a week, or a month passes without a newspaper or a magazine publishing one of my work, of many of my works. So I did that. We created another magazine with a couple of people called Radio and TV Times. I became the paparazzi of my day, making sure that every time I have someone doing something that they are not supposed to do, so that I will capture it and publish it in one of those newspapers and magazines. And one thing led to the other. Through my work, I met a gentleman whom we've become very good friends, called Kwekubuafa Ajiman. Those days in the media circles, we call him Pacheco. And an opportunity came for me to travel abroad, and I did. And then it was one of those moments where you don't plan it. You just know that, like many things in my life, things happened, and I had an opportunity to go to the US. The plan was I was going to go there and I was going to buy a lot of equipment to come back and set up the best studios in Accra. Unfortunately, I went, and the studios did not happen. I did work, and then one thing led to the other. I decided to stay. And when I set up my camp in how do we call it, in New York, I stayed in New York for I think about 2 years. That is 2000. In 2002, I went to visit a friend in a small town in New England. In the US, we have the New England region, which is Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. The state of Maine is the most federal state in the US. It's close to Canada, the Quebec side of Canada. And Portland is the largest, the most diverse city in Maine.
Right.
So I went to visit a friend and fell in love with the place. Beautiful, artistically inclined place, and artists, photographers, and then I decided to stay there.
Right. So you mentioned that, I mean, you were very passionate about your storytelling career, taking pictures, publishing them. You were getting very famous right here in Ghana. And then you had to travel to the US through your work. And then the goal was to go get more equipment, come back to Ghana, and come and continue your work. Somehow it didn't happen. Have you encountered failures in life? How were you able to overcome it?
Yeah, many failures. I think nobody have won something with. I got involved with non-profits. I have started non-profits that haven't gone anywhere, that have failed. My most, and I don't see failure as failure. I see failure as an opportunity for you to go back to the drawing board, right? And then look at what did I do right and what do I need to change, so that the next time that I do this again, I will do it right and I will get it right. So I would joke that there is no failure. There is almost always an opportunity to learn in life.
What are some of the difficulties you encountered when you went to the US? When did you have the epiphany, the aha moment that, you know what, I think my life is going to be here?
Well, some of the challenges will be, Ghana is an English-speaking country, but we also speak different English than the one that is spoken in the US. Not exactly word by word, or there are some things that you say in Ghana, when you say it in the US, they were looking at you, something as simple as, how do you do? We use how do you do here, right? Yeah. I don't know if you guys have adopted the US way of saying it now. Everybody says hi to everyone.
Okay.
I have a neighbor who, when I was in New York, that I see all the time, and one day say, how do you do? And then he asked me, how do you do what? So there's the language thing. And then when you are coming from Ghana, where the temperature is a certain level, it is hot all year round, and then you go to a place like US and you are in the East Coast, or the part that have winter that changes. Snow, especially in Maine, snow, the winter can be very, very, very difficult to endure. So those are some of the challenges. And then there's the culture shock of how we do things here, how do people do things there. So yes, you have a lot of high learning curve. You have to learn how to do things over there, and you have to evolve, right? You have to evolve from one thing to the other to be able to adapt to the culture that you find yourself into.
Now, talking about evolving, obviously you left your storytelling career. You started off, you were very sure that this is what I'm supposed to do. You had people come into your life to give you resources to do that. Some way, somehow, you hung the less. And then now you decided to go into policy and then diversity and inclusion. Now you've gone into politics. Even before you even answer the question as to how you got into the politics, what is your take on what people are supposed to do? I mean, as in the purpose of people. How are people supposed to, carve their career in such a way that they are not just stuck in one phase? Because just like you mentioned earlier, you tend to find something that works for you, and you think that that's all to you for the rest of your life. But somehow, you have been able to transform from being a storyteller to a policy maker right now. What is your take on that?
I think policy making is storytelling, right?
That's another angle.
I take the storytelling skills that I have learned over the years whilst in Ghana and turn it into many different things and apply it to almost everything that I do. When you want to convince your fellow elected people to vote for something, you have to tell them stories, right? You cannot just stand up and say that I believe this is right, so let's do it right. You have to find a story. You have to find something that you will say that will touch their heart, right? You have to get something that will touch their emotions and let them see why it is all right to put a stop sign here. Because 2 days ago, a young person who is 3 years old was crossing the road, and the driver that was coming up the hill did not stop because we failed that child. We didn't put a stop sign there, and the child was hit and they got hurt. And they would never be able to play soccer or basketball again. That is a story, right? Or you will say that last year when we approved this money or these resources into our schools, kids that will not have been able to participate in the after-school program that our school provide, our public education system provide, they participated in it. It used to be 10 kids and now we have 20 kids. And 5 of those kids are going to go to college next year because they participated. That is a feel-good story. So stories have two extremes. Either it is in policy making, you have a story that makes people feel good and they want to be part of it. Or stories, unfortunately, that makes them feel bad and you don't want that to happen again. And each way, you touch them in a way, but you have to tell a story.
In essence, you're telling me that you are still a storyteller, just in a different capacity.
Yeah, different platforms, different places to tell a story, but you use the story to shape what you want to share and what you want other people to do.
All right, we are getting to the end of our discussion, but before we conclude everything, how did you get into politics? I mean, I don't know whether you have always wanted to get into politics, but how did you get into it? How did you get elected as the very first Ghanaian in the US to be put in a public office? And you have been doing that since that time to now, serving 4 consecutive times or 4 times, and this year being the very 4th time that you have been elected.
Right. So since I moved to Portland, Maine, where I still live, I moved to New York and then moved to Portland, Maine. And anyway, before I left for Ghana, the closest I've been to politics is going to vote. And my claim to fame is that I photographed Rawlings whilst he was piloting one of the only presidential thing at that time. We're doing something called Story Time. And I was the sales photographer for that. So that is my closest to politics ever. Photographing the politicians at that time and getting close to President then late President J.J. Rawlings. And when I was in the U.S., I've always considered myself a Pan-Africanist, a Black person who cares and values about the welfare of every Black person globally. So when I was in the U.S., some of the work that I did in my community is I work with the then NAACP, National Association for the for the Advancement of Colored People. It's an organization that has been in the U.S. for a long time. We created a youth program called King Fellows after Dr. King. I have a nonprofit that I work with young people called Interfaith. I'm a Muslim. I bring people together to talk about faith. I believe that a lot of challenges that we have in the world, if people talk to each other, we may not have as much problems as we do. Talking to each other, as I say, I'm a storyteller. Talking to each other opens the opportunity to understand each other. And we don't have to agree, but we will come to some sort of like a conclusion that, okay, you're going to get half of what you want, and about if you yell at each other, you're never going to get anything. Doing that and then working in the community where I founded an organization that was working with parents who are immigrants to get them to understand how education works in the US so that they can support their kids. And that one thing led to the other. One day, one of my colleagues in the organization that I founded walked to my office and said that, hey, Pious, there is an opening on the school board. In the US, in most cities in the US, the education system in the US is not centralized with the federal government. They have the local one, the school board, the city that you live in, they control their education, they pay for it. They get some money from the federal government and then some money from the state, but a bunch of the money for education comes from the taxes that they collect locally. So there is always a board of education, elected body that administer that. They come out of policies, they hire a superintendent. So she said, you have to run for school board or board of education. I said, I'm not interested. And she said, why? And I said, because I'm not interested in politics. And she said, everything that you've done in this city, your organizing work, the education thing that you do, almost everything is politics. And I said, well, I'm not interested in organized politics. Long story short, I have people saying, yeah, we agree with her. Then I ran for school board. There were 2 seats and there were 6 of us running. When I ran, I came second. The first person beat me by, I think, 7 or 70 votes. And I beat the person that came after me with 2,000 votes. That was 2013. In 2016, I ran for the city council. So yes, this is my 4th term on the city council, but this is my 5th term in elected office. And each term is 3 years. So I did that. In 2023, I ran for mayor. Obviously, I'm not the mayor, which means that I didn't get elected.
Right.
So I'm not the mayor, but I am what we call the mayor pro tem, which stands for standby mayor, because I am the longest serving city councillor in my city. So automatically, if you are the longest serving city councillor, you become the mayor pro tem. So I'm the mayor is pro tempora,
Right.
which comes from the word, which became the word temporary. So if the mayor cannot exercise his or her duty, automatically
comes to you.
I become the mayor.
Right. You have been doing an amazing work in the US, making sure that those kids there get some good life for themselves, and also the community people have some good life. You are from Ghana. You are still Ghanaian, right?
I am.
Would you say, or would you consider someday in the future coming back to Ghana to come and do some work in politics here?
I may. Actually, I am part of a group. I never say never in politics or in life, right? But I don't think I foresee myself running for office in Ghana. So let's get that settled. However, I can see myself, I'm currently the co-executive director of an organization, a foundation called Forward Ever Collective Foundation, which is a program or a project of an organization called GH Park, Ghana Public Affairs Committee. We are the largest and the leading Ghanaian political organization in the US. We don't do the Ghanaian politics thing. We engage in policy, how to shape policies in Ghana, if whoever is the government allow us. And we also work to advocate for issues that impact Ghana in, how do you call it, in the US, or the US government. I work in the non-profit sector. They have a non-profit, we have a non-profit wing, which is the foundation. That foundation look at leadership for Ghanaians and other African immigrants in the US. And some of what we want to do is to look at create a campaign school where we coach Ghanaians who want to run for office, to give them the necessary skills that that they are interested in. I also have an organization in the US. Since I got elected in 2013, the number of Africans in elected office have increased or quadrupled. And so I have an organization called African Elected Leaders in America. I founded that so that we can bring ourselves together, and those of us that are interested in departing some of what we've learned to people both back home and Africans who are also in the diaspora who are interested in being in office, to give them the skills to support them. So somehow, in some of the many things that I do in politics and public service, in volunteering, I'm sure that I will find a niche in Ghana where I will support young people for them to achieve their, how do we call it, their dream of being in public service. But I cannot see myself, or as at now, I don't have any plan to run for office myself here in Ghana.
All right, we are getting to the end of the conversation, but just a few questions for you, then we'll be coming to the end of the conversation. Now, if there is something you want to be known for, generations after you, if they should pick a magazine or a PNP, or if they should pick any writing at all, or if they should go on social media to go and search for their great-great-great-grandfather, what would you want to be known for?
What I want to be known for is I live the life of public service. I did my best to make the world better than I found it. And I hope that whatever or at wherever point that I will depart, I may have done my best and move it an inch or a niche from when I was born to when I will bow out of the world, the stage of life. If my grandkids or my great-grandkids find something else, or he did good, then I've done my job.
If you could talk to the gentleman, the little boy who grew up in Zongo Lane somewhere in Accra, in the crowded houses over there, what would you tell him?
That he should find what he cares about and stay focused.
I like that. Now, the very last one, before we bring the conversation to an end. If today, you were to move back to Ghana, is this something you'd want to consider? Or we should jump it?
Say it. I will answer you. I told you.
Yes, so that's the question.
Running for office.
Would you want to move back to Ghana?
If I would love to move back to Ghana, I don't know. Let's say I'm not running for office in the US, and I got to a point where I think I could have both Ghana. I could have both world. I can live in Ghana for a certain amount of the time, and then Ghana is beautiful, very beautiful. I think I love my country. I love my home country. I love my kinky, my banku, my
Let's go.
My jollof, and everything that comes with it, right? But now I have a world somewhere. I just have to find the sweet spot where I will be greedy on this, where I can have it both ways.
You want to have both?
I want to have it both. I want to have Ghana, and I want to have my US. By the way, my state have the best lobster in the world. The state of Maine have the best lobster in the world. I don't know if I want to give up that easily, but yeah, you never know.
All right, now to the very last question that we bring the conversation to an end. And that would be your message to anybody watching right now who are still looking for their purpose in life.
Thank you very much. My message to anybody that is looking for their purpose is, don't look for your purpose will find you.
We shouldn't look?
Yeah, it will find you.
You shouldn't do anything.
Oh, of course, you're not going to sit down in your grandmother's kitchen waiting for you. Get involved, do something that is meaningful, and through that path, take a meaningful path, and through that path, you will find your purpose. But it will have to find you. To some of us, we find our purpose early, or we find a pathway that will bring us to our purpose early in life. To some people, it comes later in life. I have known and seen some people that have done something throughout their lives. And when they believe that this is our purpose, and then eventually they say that, no, I want to do something different. And then they have found something that actually is meaningful, more satisfying, and more impactful than what they have spent their lives doing. And then that is their purpose. That is why I say don't look for it to find you, because you will think this is my purpose, and then you will get excited and going with it. Just love whatever you do. Do it with passion and compassion, and the purpose will come out of that.
Thank you so much, Councilor Pious Ali, for that great words of advice right there. This has been a conversation with Edward Asare, and I've been talking to Councilor Pious Ali, the very first Ghanaian to be elected into public office in the US since 2013, and he has served, in 4 consecutive terms, and he had actually done 5 terms when it comes to public service in the US. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll come your way again with another interesting conversation. Like, share, comment, subscribe to this conversation so you don't miss the next one. My name is Edward Asare.